Matrix Decoded, the theory of everything. The first lesson is about the foundations of mathematics and physics in a new way. It's about the building blocks space and time. So, space and time. We start with the Einsteinian way. We think about space we need to describe with a length. So we start with a given length. This is point A and this is point B, and this is the length between point A and B. This is space, and while we have some first initial idea, a thought. So let's say we want to have create an object staying at one point. So we take it like the idea is every object must move with a given speed. This is the entrance in the theory of everything. You have speed is meter per second. And this is constant. We call it T. So this is the initial idea. So to stay at a point, if the object wants to stay at point A, in time it must move. So, but the flow of time is a constant flow. So, by the way, this is the introduction of the minimum of the basic length of the number. This is 1 meter, one unit of length, and between point A and B we can have exactly the middle. So this is 0.5 and 0.5. To measure that, we use the Pythagorean idea. So to go from A to B back to A, we draw a circle. Let me check what is right. Yeah. For example, so this is a perfect circle. Well, it's not perfect on this paper, but we can imagine as perfect. So we go from A to B and from B to A, always in the well, this is like this is always 0.5, so it's a perfect circle. This is a radius, this is the diameter, and this is the circumference. And there we come to also to the idea of this is 1 for rotation, so 1 unit of time. This is 1 unit of space. This is 1 unit of time, so 1 second. And this is 1 meter. And here comes in the idea, you can see it on the website in the text. Up to today you think pi should be something like irrational, random, so infinite digits. P represents the idea that you can add infinite vectors. For every vector you need to balance the vectors. So if I add a third, here I have 2 vectors, for example, or 2 objects, and if I add a third one, I must rearrange the next one. So, and then if I add fourth is easy, so I can just add the orthogonal 90 degree at this. So I have 4 objects and 5 objects. So for each object you add, you get another digit in P, that's basically the idea. So it's not nonsense to calculate P like that. It's just this just represents the idea of counting, the idea of energy, the idea of irrational thinking. So the theory of everything says P is 1, so it's representing the idea of a relation between two objects. For example, I said pi slash 1 banana per 1 apple. And then you have this is one salad or whatever. So p is also 1, for example, 1 meter per 1 second. Can be so the constant speed of light, or speed of course, let's say it like that. Here we now see that we have where am I? This is basically representing 1 meter going 1 meter per second with a speed, and the object should be so this is the object going at 1 meter per second. So yeah, that's the introduction of space and time, physical that way, because you relate space and time. So today we have in the definitions of the base SE units, time is thought of something unphysical. So it enters as a pure number, as a frequency with no relation to. And in a physical theory, you must start anyway with a relation. So one kilogram of mass, for example, is based on something you can measure, and in other units. And for the entrance, for the length, you can use the time to measure, and for the time to measure you can use length. So it's relational introduction of physical properties of our perception. Looking at that picture, one can also directly introduce the building blocks of the electrodynamical field. So if you think of time, for example, measured in rotations between Earth and Sun. So let's say object A is Sun and object B is Earth. Then you would say like Earth is encircling the Sun, but in reality we say it is like they encircle, both of them encircle each other. So it doesn't, we cannot say if we just have two objects, you cannot say which one is encircling the other. So if you start with Sun and Earth, you take the center of Earth and the center of Sun, and then you do in the middle you got the center between Earth and Sun, and both of them are encircling that. So it's more like the Pythagorean idea of Pythagoras, that in the middle of or the center of universe, the center of solar system, is somehow the origin of the force. So it's a fire in the center, whatever. So you can think A and B are encircling each other on this trajectory, and it's happening in 2 dimensions. So this is the basic origin of the force, which is in theory of everything you can see force is this is in 5 dimensions. So you have like this is a dimension of force if you scale it up to reality. For the mathematics, we can use this concept of space and time. So pi is 1. So this is 1 one element of space-time. This is another element of space-time, another and another. So these are element of space-time, always one. So the pi is the relation between circumference and diameter, whereas circumference is second, so time, and the unit, physical unit of second, and the diameter is unit of space. So it's the inverse, not meter per second, but a second per meter. So the inverse to the to velocity, and this also the gravitational constant, for example, is a unit of second per meter. Is gravitation, and the fine structure constant is unit meter per second. So this is a combination of gravitation and electrodynamics in physics. So in mathematics, also for the building blocks, this is representation of 1 meter per second, 1 meter per second, 1 meter per second, 1 meter per second. So you have other calculation, so we can calculate how to, so here we have two. In 2 dimensions, we can calculate a surface or encircling calculating boxes with circles. Also, you can, of course, put this into 3 dimensions, but the forces are playing in 2 dimensions, and so we have a 2-dimensional origin, and then we can, in physics, then it becomes a 3-dimensional. So this is somehow also for the flat Earth community, the electromagnetic. You can say this, for example, this is a timeline, the general timeline you think about, and this is the 2-dimensional world, which is moving along the general time axis. So this is exactly after to explain the 3-dimensional concept of time, because in non-local starting point you have this 3 dimensions of time, and up to today we only use this dimension of time, which is in 4D space-time. But as soon as we correct the mathematics and unite general relativity and quantum theory that way, with a new concept of mathematics, we can use 3-dimensional time and squaring circles like this, and this becomes the ether. So, but it's also very easy to calculate that way in style of the Rind mathematics. So you just use natural numbers related to physical properties, like you always have to a number physical properties. So you speak about 1 meter or 1 second, and in the end you end up with 12 dimensions to describe nature with this mathematics. That's it for the first. Yeah, and with this you can also very easy see the basic concept of force. So if you imagine non-locals, 2-dimensional, you have the ether space-time, for example, something like this, and so if you want to, this is rigid, so at every there's one point where those circles have contact to each other, and if you this is a matrix, so, and if you want to rotate one of them, so movement is always a circular movement, because this is a representation of a movement, meter per second, and if you want to move something in universe, every other contact gets affected immediately. So if you move this one, there is no time between movement of this element and this element. So you have here moving something. This object is moving with c, as every object is moving with c, and you have this. This is friction, but no time delay. So there you have a force coming in as a friction. But if you move this object with a given speed of light, the global speed of light, without any delay, so simultaneously the object, so you call object A and object B, and this is the ether, and these are objects. So this is more or less to explain the this instant force at a distance, or act at a distance. So between A and B, if you have movement on A, it directly connects to the object B. I hope this was a way you can do some thoughts about space and time and the new concept of mathematics and physics.